Ah, yes, rock and or roll. It's time for BloodHorse Monday. He's Sean. I'm Louie, hanging out with you for the, is it 38?
I think so.
38th rendition, so they tell us, of this program. No one's counting, I promise. But you know who is counting? Keeneland. And this episode is presented by them, the world's marketplace. The Keeneland Championship sale is Wednesday, October 29th in the Mar Paddock. And the Keeneland November breeding stock sale begins Tuesday, November 4th. You can learn more right now at Keeneland.com. That is Keeneland.com. Busy show today. Seems like we are incapable of unbusy shows now.
It's almost like something important's coming up.
It's almost like things. But we appreciate everyone jumping on. If you ever wanted to see an episode with Sean and me wearing at least 4 outfits, I have great news.
Did we make it to 4?
Is it just 3?
I think we're just 3.
Oh. Yeah. I have great news.
We could always switch in the middle of this.
Yeah, something like that. That's exactly right. Kate Hunter will jump back on. We talked to her around Derby time. We stood outside the quarantine barn with her, with Luxor Cafe and a horse whose name I'm forgetting.
Admire Daytona.
Thank you very much, Mr. Derby over here. And she'll be joining us. Give us kind of an update on the Japanese horses we will see in the Breeders' Cup. She was stunningly transparent about their running styles and level and what their values are, but a deep, plushy conversation broke out amongst the three of us. I was not prepared for the level of plushy talk that we get into. I cannot suggest enough staying around for that one. She'll be first up. Will Walden, he's the trainer of Rhetorical, who will be heading to the Breeders' Cup. And just one of the stories in horse racing that if you don't know it, you should stick around and hear it. And frankly, it is I was thinking about this, so often, around the Kentucky Oaks, for example, we think about breast cancer, we think about cancer and how much it touches people's lives. Will's story about addiction and different things, it touches so many people's family members, themselves maybe even. And so just a great story there, of course, as they head out to the Breeders' Cup with Rhetorical. And then Jes Sikura will join us from Hillendale Farms as part of our preview of that Keeneland sale. Hanging out with us all month is Keeneland. Speaking of Perryville last weekend, Barnes gets the win in that one. Do you know what I thought of as he was kicking away? Are you ready? This show last week, when Brendan Walsh told us not every horse takes to Parks.
Yep.
And Barnes
that was flashing through your mind.
Didn't take the Parks, and he took just fine to Keeneland.
Yeah. I know. He looked great.
He looked damn good.
I don't want to say I was shocked that he won, but I was shocked that he won like that. Yeah. Especially with,
especially that field.
Captain Cook, Owen Almighty in there. And, it's just, he just pulled away from him as they came into the stretch. He looked really impressive. That was a Barnes we haven't seen since back in January. Yep. So it's good to see him back on that upward trend, and hopefully that will continue going forward.
My sense is Malibu, 26.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
Just get back to Santa Anita.
They've been keeping him at the sprint since they brought him back here in the summer.
It's a great one.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be the target for that.
For sure. No doubt about it. And frankly, that field could get really interesting if you think about the 3 old sprinters. Frankly, if someone wanted to ship for the grade 1, if they wanted to do that, my sense is it won't be like what happened to Mystic Dan last year with the travel, that they'll be able to put it together a little bit better than that. But I say that, maybe not, unfortunately. But Barnes heading back out for the Malibu, I think, makes the most sense moving forward. Any disappointments in that race? I got to be honest. Captain Cook jumped up so much in the Jerkins. It was kind of an expected return to normalcy for him. I think, the speed figures, etc., made more sense in this Perryville than they did in other races. But I was a little underwhelmed by the others in this race.
Yeah.
But I can't tell how much that was just Barnes.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to tell what he runs like that. But Owen Almighty, I was disappointed in on the far turn because he was backing out of it. But then he dug in. He kept on. Yeah. He battled in there. He hung in for third. So I'm wondering if this is just he's still this was his second start off the layoff. His first start was really just you can't really consider that much of anything other than the fact that he went around the track there at Charlestown. Right. So I think it was good to see that he still has some of that fight in him, even though he didn't get second or he didn't win the race. And so I think that's still something to build off of. I wouldn't jump off of him. I am wondering if, maybe that 1-turn mile, that mile on the 16th is exactly where he wants to be. Maybe these 7 furlongs isn't exactly. It seemed like when they went to quicken, he was caught a little off guard, and then he eventually kind of worked back into it. So we'll see what he has from the future. But yeah, it was hard to look past Barnes in that race.
No doubt about it. I think it's the Pasco that's run at 7 furlongs at Tampa that he won earlier this year.
That was the one I think he
got DQ'd in.
Got
it. Yeah. And so we've seen him do it before.
But not
frankly,
kind of
boom, number one. And number two, in the development of a 3-year-old, that was a lifetime ago.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it really was. We're talking early Derby preps at Tampa Bay ahead of the Derby and the Sam and all those things. But yes, Jason, I did that for you. I did that for you. But no, it's a. By the way, it's their 100th year coming up at Tampa.
Wow.
How about that? I think we should. I think we should have somebody out from Tampa ahead of their meet coming up here. Because they're going to start real soon.
I think that isn't that next month, November.
Yep, for sure.
Tampa, if you're listening to us.
So we would love to have you. No, 100 years is 100 years. And by the way, the only thing I need. 100th year, you got to make swag, right? You got to put the gear together. You and me, big devotees of the horse racing swag, as I wear a vest, like promoting myself. I need a hat that just says the Sam. Only 2 can be made though. Beam gets 1, I get 1. That's all.
I don't get 1.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. That's how exclusive these hats. You know what?
I better get a
make 3 for Sean. Fine. That's right.
I better get the. I'll wear the Tampa 100 one.
Little TBD. Little TBD 100. Oh, give me the Sam hats. Let's get it done. Come on, Beam. You better. All right. And then on the Raven run, we get an upset, and 2 of the longer odds horses in the race go ahead and win that one. Did you have a big takeaway from the Raven run? Look, we're talking about. I love this kind of stuff in Kentucky. We get spoiled here. 11 horse field. After 15 were entered and 4 scratched, you still get a double-digit field. Any takeaways from the Raven?
I'm still trying to process exactly what happened in that race. It was such a thrilling finish as they were coming down the stretch run there. I thought Vodka with a Twist was gonna.
I thought she was too.
I thought she had the race won, but then Kappa just came right back on her inside. It's always great to see when you have connections from the East Coast, like a Butch Reed. That's kind of a big name out there. Yeah. Seeing them ship a horse out to Kentucky and do well in that race. And I mean, she's a lightly raced horse. I feel like we don't really know exactly what she's capable of. She draws in off that AE list, like you mentioned. So she was stuck with that wide draw. She still ended up winning anyway. I lost no faith in Ragtime there. I just think it was she got caught too far behind, and then
she kind of fell out of the gate, frankly.
Yeah, the 2 front runners didn't really come back to, or the 2 front runners down the stretch didn't come back to her. And so I would draw a line through that one and expect her to be, on top of her game again next time as well. But yeah, it was I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I think about that race, because that was definitely a surprise.
I'm interested in Vodka with a Twist moving forward. I think your favorite.
She always shows up.
Boom.
Yeah.
But I think there's something where if she grows a little, if she matures a little, if there's some kind of mental maturity for her, I think she can put it together. I think they're still figuring out what she's good at.
Yeah. And she was coming in off 2 weeks rest. She was just running against Older in the TCA
totally fair.
on opening weekend.
Yep. Yeah. That is an angle that I love to watch with certain trainers when they're like, you know what, no, you're good. Get back out there, ready to go. And she clearly was in that one as well. Coming up on the end of Keeneland, moving back, of course, Sunday to Future Star Sunday at Churchill Downs this weekend as well. What is the crazy stat about Future Star Sunday, young Sean?
Well, it produced a Kentucky Derby winner last year. I could tell you that.
Not a bad thing. That's exactly right. Were you like me and you thought you were clever picking Sovereignty in last year's Street Sense as a maiden and no one else would figure it out, and then he went out as a favorite and won by $1 billion?
I don't think I picked him.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Okay. I felt so.
I can't remember.
I was like, oh, look at me picking a maiden in a grade 3. Look at Louie being different. No one's going to figure this out except me.
He breaks as the favorite.
Everyone figured it out. Yes, that's right.
Well, you act like he wasn't a Kentucky Derby in Belmont.
Yeah, right.
Obviously, everybody knew that.
He didn't win the Travers by $1 billion. I had Byron King on my radio show on Friday, and I gave him the props. He saw Sovereignty in the Street Sense and said, "That's my Derby winner," and never got up.
Yeah, he had a number 1 on the Derby dozen for the entirety of the Derby dozen
right.
when it started in January until Sovereignty won.
That's how I introduced him on Friday. I was like, guy kind of knows his stuff. Yeah, how about that? Yeah.
I will say I had him in the future wager in November. For some reason, I didn't
really.
Have him when
like 20-1.
The Derby. I got
12-1.
He was somewhere around 20-1, I think.
Okay.
I think it was like a $5 wager. I ended up paying around $100. So
I'm sure you could find a tweet where someone said everyone's overreacting to that Street Sense.
Probably
this weather. It's one turn.
A horse that wins this is never not it's 2 turns. A horse that wins this is never going to turn into something.
Well, the 16th isn't 10 furlongs.
So
I bet those tweets are great. We should go find them. Should we do bad tweets on this show? Is that
that'd be
new segment, like bad tweets? Get a sponsor, throw that together.
Yeah,
be fun.
I think that'd be fun.
What's the horse racing? Yeah, what's the horse racing equivalent of bad tweets? Who sponsors that in horse racing? Is it Farm Paint? We'll leave Farm Paint. All right. This is BloodHorse Monday again. We'll talk to Kate Hunter, Will Walden, and Jes Sikura today. Busy show on this one. And our first guest today is Kate Hunter. We know her as Kate, but Kate, she will be. She has an interesting job. She will describe that, but essentially as the liaison between American tracks and a bunch of the Japanese outfits. She'll describe the process of getting over here to the Breeders' Cup, much like she did for the Derby, but man, a much more complicated scene for sure. As are many more races. And I asked her a little bit about comparing convincing Japanese connections to go to the Breeders' Cup as opposed to the Derby, etc. All of that plus a bunch of plushy talk. Here's Kate Hunter. I'm really pleased to welcome back to BloodHorse Monday Kate Hunter from Japan. I think it's not 9 a.m. where she is as we tape this ahead of the podcast for Monday, but we know her as Keiba Kate. Of course, she has an interesting role within North American racing, but certainly within Japanese racing as well. Kate, good morning, evening. Where are you? What's going on? What's going on right now?
I'm in Japan. It's good evening. It's 10 o'clock at night.
There we go. All right. Kate, could you please give us the 30-second elevator speech of what it is that you do for American racetracks?
It's my job to promote and recruit Japanese horses to come over to the United States, and then after having convinced them to come, to then help them do so.
Awesome. Well, we talked to you on this podcast back around Kentucky Derby time. Kind of run us through the difference. Obviously, with the Derby, you kind of have these horses going towards certain prep races. They have to get the points to qualify, so you can kind of figure out which horses are pointing for that. When you're looking at horses to run here in the Breeders' Cup, what is your process throughout the year identifying which horses might potentially come over?
Well, I'll be looking at all of the different races throughout the Japanese season that match up with distances in the Breeders' Cup, or maybe distances that maybe horses that run second or third, or kind of just miss those kinds of races. Those are the kind of horses that I really want to target. Also, we've got 4 win-your-ins here in Japan: the February Stakes, the Victoria Mile, the Yasuda Kinen, and the Takarazuka Kinen. And so those are win-your-ins for the Classic, the Filly and Mare Turf, the Mile, and the Turf. And so those are always, we're always hopeful that those really big races will bring in some big name horses for us. And now that we've got win-your-in races in both Saudi Arabia and Dubai, that's going to be, I think, another really big draw for the Japanese, because they love their Middle Eastern springs.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was talking with Gary Palmisano on my radio show the other day about that path. And one of the things I brought up was, I think, frankly, it's an extension of the Japanese path to the Kentucky Derby itself. But speaking of those different ways, and following up on what Sean just asked, Kate, what is the biggest difference for you, at least talking with trainers, connections, etc., there in Japan, about getting a horse to the Derby or getting a horse to the Breeders' Cup? Is one easier to sell than the other?
I think they're both. What's nice about the Breeders' Cup is you've got a lot of diversity there, so you've got a lot of options. So there's a lot of the horses that I have this year, they're pre-entering in 2 races. And so some of them are doing turf and dirt. Some of them are doing a mile and a sprint. And so they really have some options to kind of play around with. With the Derby, you're in the Derby. So it's that's sellable in its own right because it's the Kentucky Derby. But with the Breeders' Cup, you have a nice little menu and that the guys really enjoy to pick through. And it also depends a little bit on the racetrack here or there. So it's like, oh, Southern California, that sounds pretty nice. Oh, New York, oh, okay. So, you have got all of these, extra reasons to come, and aside from, the draw of the Kentucky Derby. So they're both really, my job's pretty easy.
Well, speaking of the Derby, a horse that we all know from the Kentucky Derby last year is Forever Young. He'll be kind of highlighting the horses coming over from Japan here running in the Breeders' Cup Classic, but he's not the only one coming. So before we dive into all these different horses, first off, just tell us, how many horses are you guys planning to bring over from Japan, and what does the quarantine process and what does that whole process of getting them to California look like?
Well, this year we've got 9 horses coming from Japan. And very excited to have everyone participate. I know some people might be a little disappointed it's not 19. For me personally, from a paperwork perspective, I don't mind. However, I think last year it was one of those years where we had just we're back at Del Mar for the first time since they won it, and I think everyone underestimated the term World Championship. So they came in very, very hopeful. And then they realize, oh, it's not a walk in the park. I'm like, oh, no. So I think people were a little more careful in their selections this year. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Some years are going to be, 19 horses and some are going to be 9, and I can deal with that. So far, just yesterday they entered into quarantine in their respective training centers. We've got today was their first full day, and so they leave on the 22nd in the morning to fly to Los Angeles, and so they'll get in early morning on Wednesday into LAX, and then drive down to Del Mar.
He mentioned Forever Young. Obviously, he's going to be coming over for the Classic itself. Wins at Funabashi last out. Kind of a quieter year from him, a little bit less racing. Do you think that was the plan for him? Is he in good form at this point?
So basically, no, it's pretty on par for Japanese. So most Japanese will run a couple of times in the spring and then take the summer off and then run again in the fall. So for a Japanese racehorse, it is very, very standard, which is also the bane of my existence because all the good horses take the summer off. And so if they didn't have a very good spring, then it's really hard to get them to come to the Breeders' Cup or get them into those races. I'm definitely at odds with the Japanese pattern, but because those summertime Group 3s are really busting me in. But for him, doing the Saudi Dubai thing, usually if you've got a horse that goes to Dubai, they don't often race again that summer. Right. Every once in a while, you'll get some horses that'll go into the Takarazuka Kinen, like you had Meisho Tabata do so. But often they'll do the Middle East and then they're out. They take the summer off to rebound from the tough trip to fly all the way out there, and that's quite standard. And it's worked very well for the Japanese, and I think that might be why some of the Americans might have not have had quite as good luck, because there's so much racing over the summer coming back from Dubai. Maybe it's harder to recoup from that. But in that case, the Middle East and Japan's pattern work perfectly together. But so having his 2 races in the Middle East, taking the summer off, prepping in Funabashi, I think is ideal.
Kate Hunter with us. I'm Louie Rabaut. He's Sean Collins. This is BloodHorse Monday. We're getting ready for a group of shippers from Japan ahead of the Breeders' Cup. And I wanted to ask, Kate, you mentioned some of those spring win and ins for the Breeders' Cup. Is there a way to not necessarily change how the qualification process happens from Japan, but is there a way to perhaps make it a little more robust in the spring so that we know who those best runners are?
Theoretically, but most of their spring racing is focused on 3-year-olds. And so a lot of those, I'm not sure if the JRA would be interested in making those win and you're going to be honest with you, because they're really trying to focus and hone their own their future stars. There are, and for like one of the Group 1s is the Osaka High, that's 2,000 meters on the turf. That doesn't really fit into any particular race at the Breeders' Cup. So the spring's a bit hard, unfortunately. What I do hope in the future is that the NAR, the dirt circuit in Japan, they're going to go international grade in a couple of years. And once they do that, I'm really hoping that they would be interested in talking with us about maybe expanding some of the dirt when you're in races, because there is a 10 furlong dirt race over the summer. The Teo Show, there's a 1,400 meter, a 7 furlong graded stakes race for fillies. There's all sorts of different dirt races. I could have a winner in for the dirt mile, filly and mare sprint, like there's all of them. And so that's something that I'm particularly interested in growing in the future, that I think will really help, get some good Japanese horses in those races.
Well, we've definitely seen a lot more focus on some dirt racing out there in Japan, and partially because of some of the success that we've seen on the international stage. Forever Young has been a part of that. He won the Saudi Derby earlier this year. We obviously know him here in the States, or excuse me, the Saudi Cup, not the Saudi Derby, which he did win last year. But we know him here in the States from the Kentucky Derby and running in the Breeders' Cup Classic as well. Just how much of an advantage does that give him, having already had all this international travel? How easily does he adjust now when he gets to Del Mar?
Well, he's even from when he was 3 and went to Saudi for the first time, he shipped great. And he came out of, even though he ran a hard race in Saudi that first year, he bounced right back. And he's so good at coming out of races in good shape. I think the only race he was tired from was actually the Kentucky Derby, and he had every right to be. So I think that when it comes to shipping, I'm not really concerned. He knows his job, and I think he's kind of old hat now.
Yeah, for young, I sort of take for granted that we see him on every continent running really well.
Well, the Japanese commentator in his last race made a joke over the intercom that it's really rare to see him in Japan. So
that's pretty good. I like that.
What is that like for the Japanese public in that one opportunity each year where they do get to see him in Japan? What was the crowd like for that race a couple weeks ago?
Oh, the crowd was amazing. They were cheering for him. They were so excited when he won. Like there was hundreds and hundreds of Forever Young hats out there. When he has to win another Group 1, so they make a plushie out of him, because that will be the fastest selling plushie since Ushba Tesoro.
They can't just go ahead and move that up. He's not popular enough yet.
I literally emailed the JRA about it directly to their little plushie department, and I was like, "Hey, are you making one?" And they're like, "Oh no, he has to win two." And even though I thought he had won 2, nope. Doesn't count. The NAR doesn't count. You got to win an international one. So that's why he has to win the Breeders' Cup Classic this year, because I need a plushie.
Are you plushie worthy or not? These are the questions asked on BloodHorse Monday. A couple of other horses that will be making the trip on the filly and mare side are Alice Verite, and I don't know if it's Argine or Argine or Argine or what it might be, but a couple of horses that may end up in the distaff but are slated to run on the grass at this point. The multiple surfaces thing, is this just, hey, we want to fit in where we can fit, or are these horses that can perform on both?
Well, I guess in Japanese, Arjinu. Her first preference is in the mile, because that's how she's performed up till now. She's by Lord Kanaloa, so that sprint mile distance is pretty good for her. But they are really sincerely considering the distaff. I thought maybe it was kind of a throwaway, kind of, we just want to make sure we get the run, kind of a mentality, because unfortunately due to Group 3 ratings in Japan, she's kind of on that cusp there of getting into the mile. But they do seem legitimately interested in the distaff, and so I would be really excited to see her, because I would love to see Lord Kanaloa on American style dirt.
Well, she's coming off of that Group 3 win at Sapporo last time. Just how is the grading system different over there in Japan? You've mentioned it a couple times where you maybe only have the grade 3s or the grade 2s. It seems like that there's a fewer amount of maybe some of these graded races than we have over here in the US.
Yeah, there's actually a lot. There are a lot of Group 3s, and they're kind of I think in the way the Japanese do it, I think a Group 3 is a true Group 3, a Group 2 is a true Group 2, and a Group 1 is a true Group 1. So it's a lot harder to be a Group 3 horse to win a Group 1 race than it would be probably anywhere else, just because there's just not enough of them. Like in Japan on the turf, there's only 2 Group 1 sprint races on the turf. There's only 2. That's all you got. And so it takes a special horse to be able to pull those things off. And some horses who've been able to win both the spring and the fall one, that's an even harder feat. So it's the whole pattern, while limiting, I think is a good test of horses' abilities.
American Stage, another one of those horses that'll likely be making the trip here. Son of Into Mischief. We saw him at Maidan a couple of times, a good second in the grade 3 Mahab Al-Shamal there. Last saw him in there at the Fujinamori at Kyoto as well. What does he bring? Is he up to the snuff of the American Sprinters this year?
Well, he's an exciting little colt. And he's little. He's adorable. He's
only 3 years old now.
Yeah, and he's also kind of small and compact. But he ran really, really well in Dubai. I was really proud of him. Given the fact he was a 3-year-old in the early spring, up against older horses in a Group 1 race, I thought he ran phenomenal in the Golden Shaheen. I was sincerely proud of him. So I think that having the cobwebs knocked off him here in Kyoto, I think he'll be in pretty good shape, and as people keep telling me the sprint's wide open, so hopefully it'll be his stage to take.
And wide open. I know you have Dragon Welds potentially for that race as well, but there's some question depending on how many horses enter, whether or not he'll make it in. If he does make it into the race, what could we expect from him? It seems like he'd be kind of stepping up in competition here.
Yeah, he's stepping up quite a bit. He's technically just kind of an allowance grade horse in the United States, and so the trainer's kind of taken a gamble on the fact that the race doesn't particularly fill. Which obviously sounds very negative, but they feel the horse. One of the problems with foreign bred horses in Japan is that about 40% of the races they're not allowed to run in. They're protected to protect the Japanese breeding industry, and so foreign bred horses aren't allowed to enter. So they have got a much narrower view of races to either debut in or to until they get to the open class. 40% of all of those races are unavailable to them. So he really hasn't been able to find his spot very well. He's been kind of in situations that are less ideal, or they haven't been able to get him up to his peak. And so the trainer feels that they're going to be able to give him a unique opportunity to be able to rise to the level they think he actually is.
You mentioned that foreign bred there. He was bred here in Kentucky, a son of Frosted from Willow Oak Stable. Another foreign bred that you guys have pointing towards the Breeders' Cup is Invincible Papa. He's bred in Australia. What could you tell us about him? I believe the Turf Sprint's what he's targeting, right?
Yes, he's a strong boy. I'm hoping that the 1,000 meters will suit him quite well. Given the Aussie speed. So he could be a lot of fun to see in that race.
Yeah, and I believe he's joined by Puro Magic as a potential runner in that race as well. Correct?
Yes, she is suffering from a bit of the group 3-itis that I was mentioning before. Yes. She's got she actually raced in the lone 1,000 meter turf sprint group 3 that they have here, the 5 furlong race that they have here in Japan, and she won it in record time. So I'm really hoping that the panel will consider that over her very, very low rating of 106. Oh, actually, it was 104 that she got in that race. So it kind of shows you rating wise how the Japanese kind of see their. I mean, I think they're probably rating in truth, and like they're probably the most honest in their rating system out of anywhere else in the world. And so like that might be how they actually feel. She is based on the rest of the Japanese horses, but you don't win that kind of a race at setting a record if you don't have talent. And she ran pretty good in Dubai, and so it's a shame she didn't get a better run in the Sprinter Stakes. But the whole makeup of Nakayama, it's one of those places that's probably not going to suit. It's kind of hard on sprinters because as you go down the stretch, there's a sharp incline, and so you are sprinting for your life because you're like in the last 2 furlongs, and then you got to go uphill. Oh. And you will see so many horses like in the lead hit that, and then all of a sudden someone from behind comes up and beats them because they can't handle it.
Yeah. Well, in the distaff division as well, we had Alice Verite. She was in the race last year in the Breeders' Cup distaff, and she finished 4th. So she's one that we have seen before. She hasn't hit the board yet in her starts yet this year, but how is she coming into the race?
I think she's doing pretty good. For me, while it wasn't the best finish, if you go back and rewatch her Victoria Mile, where she just breaks on the lead and just runs rampant. I thought she was going to win it. Like basically up until the final furlong, it looked like she was going to win it. So it was pretty impressive. Like I was sitting there because like for that race we present winning your own trophy and all that stuff, and I'm watching like, oh my God, let's go for it, girl. So it was pretty awesome to watch. But I think if she can bring that sharpness and speed into the distaff, I think it'll really suit her well.
All right. Well, we know it's getting late out there in Japan today, much later today. So I did want to ask before we get you out of here about the American Pharoah move to, I want to get this right, to the Shizunai Stallion Station, of course, in partnership with Coolmore America. As a guy who wants to see more dirt racing around the world, I'm really excited about this, but certainly we've also seen the Pharaohs be really good on the grass as well. Is there an excitement about him coming to stud in Japan?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Japanese have been sending mares to the United States just to breed to him. And then a lot of the mares they would buy at Keeneland, they would also then basically immediately take to American Pharoah when they brought them back into the country. So like he's been everyone's kind of go-to for a while for those, reliable winners over here in the United States, over here in Japan. I think it's awesome. Like I remember a couple of years back there was announced that I had heard a rumor that a Coolmore stallion was going to be sold to Japan. I'm like, American Pharoah. And then I was like, wait for it, Caravaggio. What? So I was not expecting that. But I'm really excited. I think so are all the Japanese breeders and future owners of all of these horses. To have him come over here and to be available, even if it's just for a short period of time. He's going to be a very, very, very busy boy.
Well, she's Kate Hunter. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, speaking of Pharoah, I know we had Luxor Cafe in the Kentucky Derby this year. Also had Meyer Daytona in the Derby this year. Any updates on just how they're doing out there in Japan post Kentucky Derby?
Luxor ran in the Japan. Oh, they both actually ran in the Japan Dirt Classic. That's the race that Forever Young won last year before going to the Breeders' Cup. And neither of them ran particularly well, but that was kind of their first race after also a very long layoff. And unfortunately, the horse that was up for the very first Japan Dirt Triple Crown lost as well. Natural Rise, he finished second. So it was kind of a disappointing across the board. But no, they both came out of their races very healthy, and so they'll be pointed to other things later in the year. There was a brief hot moment where Daytona was thinking about coming over for the Dirt Mile. But they said, after his race, they're like, I think they want to focus on going to Dubai next year. And then and maybe qualify for the Breeders' Cup over there.
Awesome.
All right, I'm a liar. One more question about about the Derby since Sean brought it up. The expansion of that Middle Eastern program, especially races on the Arabian Peninsula, should we expect to see just a ton of Japanese runners in those races?
Well, you already do. So they're basically going to be rewarded for their patronage now. So yeah, the Japanese love the Saudi Derby, and I think that it's going to be one of those races that in tandem with the UA Derby is really going to create an awesome second, maybe third channel for Japanese horses to get into the Kentucky Derby. I'm hoping some will start once we get a couple of USDA rules changed. I'm hoping to maybe try and get some Japanese over here for more prep races in the United States. Maybe see a couple more Mandarin heroes out there. And then between the Japan road, the American road, and the Middle Eastern road, hopefully the Japanese will finally get that Derby win here in the next couple of years.
Maybe get all 20 in the starting gate now too.
Right? That is my dream. I'm looking for, if I can get a quarter of the field, that'll really kind of up the odds that I'm going to get a Japanese winner, and then I can die happy. So like If you
get a quarter of the field in the Kentucky Derby, I've heard they'll make a plushie of you.
Ooh, that would be a very ugly little doll. I would not recommend buying that one. That's going to be half off bin very quickly. Very quickly.
So with this whole plushie rule, so if a Japanese horse wins the Derby and that's their only grade one, they don't get a plushie just off winning the Derby? There's no exception for that?
There are exceptions. There's a whole list of rules for plushiedom. So there's a certain races in Japan that are automatic plushie. Oaks, Derby, Japan Cup, Arima Kinen, Tenno Show. Those are like the big tentpole races in Japanese racing. You win one of those, bam, plushie. But for everything else, you got to win two. So like there is a bar to clear.
Right. Sean, whatever we have to do for the graphics for the promo of this episode, Bam plushie needs to be on there. That needs to be on there. That's the thing that I learned today. She's Kate Hunter. We call her Kate McKay. We'll see her at Del Mar, of course, for the Breeders' Cup. Kate, thanks so much for jumping on again. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
There you go. Kate Hunter. Always kind enough to join us, Sean. Hopefully we'll become a multiple time per year guest as we move forward with this thing. All right, thanks to Kate Hunter for joining us here on the program. Any big takeaway other than plushie talk? Obviously,
I'm not ready for the plushie talk to be over. I'm still just amazed to think that had Forever Young been a couple noses ahead of where he finished in the Kentucky
Derby
Derby,
plushie.
there would not have been a plushie of him until he won the Saudi Cup. That still just blows my mind.
Did she not say that was an automatic was winning the Kentucky
No,
Derby?
she mentioned the Japanese races where like the Japanese Derby and a couple like the classics over there. And I'm wondering, I mean, obviously
you're right.
we've never seen a Japanese horse with the Derby. So
Right.
I'm wondering whether or not the Kentucky Derby would fall into that.
No, it's an important
fall into
question. If
that
we're going to
realm.
talk plushies, it's an important question. I'm with you.
Yes.
Such a ridiculous conversation.
I've been thinking about this ever since we had that conversation a couple days ago.
I'm with you.
It's been stewing in my mind.
I would say that my brain says it's Forever Young and a bunch of dudes. You went to Louisville. I'm sure you remember a couple of years ago, Booger McFarland at ESPN said, it is Lamar Jackson and a bunch of dudes. By the way, he was right.
Mhm.
Dude won the Heisman and they won 9 games, something like that. Okay. In this case, do you think of the Japanese contingent as Forever Young and a bunch of dudes?
I mean, it definitely seems like that.
Yeah,
going
it feels
into
good.
But
We
you
thought
know,
that a couple years
yeah,
ago
we
in the
did
Breeders'
think
Cup as
about that a
well.
couple years
This
ago.
staff
And-
had to prove us wrong.
you know, we went into the 2021 Breeders' Cup thinking, all right, Love's only used a real shot.
Yes.
Maybe they can win that. She ends up winning that. And it's like, all right, Japan got their win. And then boom, Marshall Lorraine ends up winning kind of, you know, a shocker in the disc staff. So could we have that opportunity again this year? We'll see. As Kate mentioned, you know, it's a little bit more difficult to get grade 1s on some of these types of horses. And so you have a lot of horses who are maybe these grade 3 level horses over there who are now kind of, they're looking to see maybe we could step up and maybe we can run in this spot. And so that seems to be what most of them are coming over, but we've seen Marshall Lorraine do it. So why can't we see it again?
And going into the spring, we talked about that expansion of the essentially the Middle Eastern route and the move by the Kentucky Derby to move more of those races away from the European route and more into the Arabian Peninsula, whether it be in UAE or in Saudi. And essentially, she had the same attitude that you and I did, either off air or on the show. I can't remember now, but it's just more opportunities for Japanese horses.
Yeah.
She obviously agrees with that.
Yes, definitely. I mean, you've seen how much they've really put into going to the Middle East. We saw Forever Young do it last year, where he was in the Saudi Derby first and then the UAE Derby. And so now that you can actually get the points in those races,
Right.
I think that definitely is going to lead to a lot more of that kind of participation with the Japanese horses. You're probably going to see a couple more 3-year-olds start making the trip. If you're one of those Japanese trainers that has a top quality horse that's running in the Saudi Cup itself, that's running in some of those undercard races for the older horses, why not throw your 3-year-old in there, run the Saudi Derby, and then just stay there? Come back in those races in Dubai.
All right, important question, and then we'll wrap up the Kate Hunter stuff. Who is plushie worthy at BloodHorse? I think we start with Anne, right? Anne is plushie worthy, right? All the great photographs and all the.
I think
the
Frank
great stuff.
definitely earned a plushie.
That's a good idea to mention the editor of this program. It's a good job by you.
Yes.
Does Byron get in because he had sovereignty beginning to end and the Derby doesn't? I think he does.
I don't know. You don't think he has to? You don't think
Gotta
he has
back
to do
it
it
up?
again? He's got to do it second, start to finish one. I
You
mean,
know
we heard
what?
you
Kate-
need 2 grade 1s in order.
Is that only one grade 1 in his career? Is that what we're doing with Byron?
We'll have to go back. We'll have to have a historical review here on the plushie committee.
What a ridiculous question. Oh man. Who's like a dark horse plushie candidate at man? Is it Pete? Pete might
I
be.
think so.
Yeah, it might be Pete.
Yeah, holding down the daily for us.
That's
over
it,
there.
man. I'm telling you, like just the behind the scenes folks to make everything go. That's what it is. You know what I mean? And all you can see all of it, by the way, at bloodhorse.com, of course. If you haven't signed up for the daily, click the tab at the top of the homepage, man. Free email to you every single day. Get your day started with BloodHorse. No better way than that. Let's talk to Will Walden.
Yes,
We did this last week and finally got a hold of Will. We've been trying to have him on the show for sure since Rhetorical qualified for the
He's a busy man.
No kidding. And so no, and you and I understand that, and I think that's something when you get to sit on this side of things that we really appreciate is look, we're busy for sure, but whatever. There's a different kind of busy in the horse business for sure, especially in the training side. And so Will's one of those guys. Great story. We got into a lot of different things with him, from the horses, his childhood relationships, of course, Riley Mott. We think of Miguel Clement as well, and just that that camaraderie between them all, and got to ask about group chats, all kinds of fun stuff. So
his
here,
famous roommate, which we'll hold in suspense.
you know what? That's underrated interview. Here's Will Walden from his house.
All right, pleased to welcome in trainer Will Walden to the program here on BloodHorse Monday. Sean Collins, Louie, Rabaut hanging out with you. Will, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, no problem at all. You came up in a horse racing family. And I always ask people because Sean and I are from not horse racing families. And so we love to find out from folks like you that got to grow up around the sport and in the sport, how it affected you in as far as, deciding to do this for a career, etc. Growing up with your dad, with your grandfather, etc. Did that set you on this path, you think? Were you always going to be a horse trainer?
Yeah, it's definitely a good icebreaker at parties too. Good way to make friends. Yeah, no, I was actually telling somebody about it last week. Like, I grew up, kind of running around my dad's shed row. Like, I'd come to the barn with him on Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings. Would try Monday mornings, but he'd force me to go to school. But I I think I probably took it for granted, like we grew up, my dad would train in Payson over the winter. So that's where like I started a friendship. I was childhood friends with Riley Mott and Miguel Clement because their dads both trained at Payson, and we'd link up over there. We'd link up down there over the winter and just run around. But I didn't really understand, really appreciate what I had. I don't think. My dad retired from training in 2004, so I was 14, and I kind of felt like I got gypped. I was pretty upset with him for the first year or two of his retirement, because I was going to have it made. I was going to be able to kind of, work my way through his program and hopefully, get the education that was offered there. And I remember him telling me at the time that it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because it would force me to go out on my own and I would be able to get jobs because of my last name and obviously being associated with him. But he said, you're going to get to learn from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different quality trainers out there. Whereas if I was still training, you'd only get to learn my way. And usually, as he is in hindsight, he was right. It was so look, it was great growing up. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better childhood and wouldn't have chosen it any other way.
Trainer Will Walden with us. You mentioned that childhood and then having to go out on your own and figure it out on your own, as you mentioned. Was there someone else in your history that helped out with that process?
As far as like, who'd I work for?
Yeah, who'd you work for? Who'd you come up in? Who else did you learn from? Because you said, hey, my dad was right. I need to learn from other people. Who'd you learn from?
Well, and you know what? Like, I still got to learn from my dad because all these other things I learned from these other guys, I was bouncing off him. Todd Pletcher was a huge mentor. Got to work in his program. I still have set lists from like back in 2014, 2015, just because it's wild to look at like the quality of horses that was in his shed row at the time, still is. But really learned kind of the business, I guess, side of things and just how to deal with people, how to be a professional. I wasn't at the time, not even close, but I got to watch Todd and learn kind of how he maneuvered around the shed row in the morning and his horses and the discipline that he implemented in his own program. In high school, my dad would come to me the last week of school and he would say, where are you going this summer? And I remember the first year he did it, I looked up at him because they just put in a pool and I was going to have my buddies over and we were going to kick back by the pool all summer long. And he said, you better be out of here 24 hours after school ends. And I don't want you back here till 48 hours before it starts. And I would go up in the summers and I'd live with Bill Mott and his family, son Riley, and his longtime employee Irma was we were roommates and in his basement and got to really learn the horsemanship side of things from Bill. He's such a tremendous horseman and his knowledge of the game and just I don't know, the little idiosyncrasies that come along with these magnificent animals and athletes. He picks up on, and was just able to really like watch and try to mirror the way he did things. Worked for Wesley Ward, Jonathan Shepard, Dale Romans, and I'd say a guy I learned from a lot that I never worked for, Brad Cox, training alongside him at Keeneland and now Churchill. Brad's tremendous at what he does, picking out spots for horses and just kind of, I guess the one thing, not being afraid to expose horses in the morning so that you know what you got. I think that's probably the most valuable lesson I've learned from him because, in my infant mind coming into training, you think, well, you got a horse that's working good and you want to protect that image in your mind. You want to protect it week in and week out, and you're doing the horse a disservice, and you're doing yourself a disservice, and ultimately you're doing the owners a disservice too. Don't be afraid to put these things. Don't be afraid to put the A's with the A's, the B's with the B's, and the C's with the C's, and kind of let iron sharpens iron, and let these horses figure it out for themselves in the morning.
Well, all those lessons that you learned have paid off in the form of Rhetorical when he got you your first Grade 1 win a few weeks ago in the Turf Miles Stakes up at Keeneland. Just take us through that race. He was a New York bred facing Open Stakes Company for the first time. What went into the decision and gave you the confidence to run him in that spot?
Well, I got to give a lot of the credit to Adam Wachtel and Gary Barber and Everett Dobson, who own the horse, and they're hands-on, and we had several discussions about what to do with him over the summer, and the plan went a little bit awry in our first go at Saratoga. We planned on running him twice, the first being a New York bred 2 other than allowance race, which he was entered. I was at a barbecue the night before that party, or the afternoon before that race, and it rained for literally 15, 20 minutes. That was it. I mean, it came down heavy, but 15 or 20 minutes. And I didn't think there was any way they were going to take the races off the turf the next day. They did. So he was 1-2 in that race and kind of laid over the field. And when they brought it back on the overnight, nobody went back in there. So he's eligible at this point for the New York bred 2 other than, which he was entered in. He's eligible for the Open first level allowance, and he's eligible for the Open 2 other than allowance. I didn't like the distance for the Open A other than allowance. They were all on the overnight. All 3 of these races were on there on the grass, which is rare. Usually you don't get them all in the same overnight. And I chose to go in the 2 other than Open allowance because it was written at 1 mile and a 16th, which I liked better for him than 1 mile and an 1/8, which is what the Open allowance was written at. And we had the discussion, me and Adam and Gary and Everett, and there was a little he and hawing about we're jumping 2 levels here, then we have to. And we had discussed like the fall campaign for this horse, and I said, look, if he's as good as we think he is, then it really shouldn't matter. And we need to, we've got 3 races under his belt. We need to continue on. It's been 6 weeks since his last race. So he went in there, he won the 2 other than. And then once we figured out we were going to go in the West Point, we had kind of mapped out the Coolmore Turf Mile as, let's see what he's really made of. And if we're good enough, we'll go to the Breeders' Cup. And if not, then he's always going to be a New York bred. He came back from Saratoga and started training at Churchill, and Saratoga beat him up a little bit, to be honest with you. I was, a little bit leery of where, if we were going to do the Coolmore Turf Mile based on how he came out of Saratoga. And after 10 days at Churchill, just every marker you look for in horses to see how they're doing just started to go vertical really, really quick. And then we got him back on the work tab, and his works were tremendous. Week in and week out, he just kept coming with it, bringing it, telling us he was ready. So there was no hesitation. The only concern was if we were going to get in, because we had New York bred stakes earnings as opposed to anybody else that nominated. Most everybody had more credentials than we did, because state bred earnings is only a level above allowance horses. So anyways, it all worked out in the end.
How did he come out of that race? And are we indeed heading to Del Mar?
Great. Yeah. No, he came out good. I mean, ultimately, we'll let him answer the question in the next couple of weeks. But as far as, the first hoop you jump through when picking the next spot is how did he come out of the race? He's come out of the race very good. Looks great on the road and on the track. We'll we'll breeze him and, obviously see how he exits that and then go from there. But yeah, it's right now, all systems are go.
Is he at Churchill? Will he work at Churchill this weekend?
Yeah. No, he's not going to work this weekend. We'll work him next weekend.
Got it. Okay. Will Walden with us, trainer Will Walden. The other story coming out of that race, of course, was a connection with a man named Frank Taylor. And you have been very open about your path through recovery from alcohol and drug use and those kinds of things. But this was a pretty special moment. Will, we could hear it in your voice in the winner's circle. Can you take us back to that moment? Maybe talk about Frank, just what Rhetorical means. Does it put a bow on a chapter of your life?
Yeah, no, it does. Frank, I think some people know how important, influential, I mean, insert the adjectives for him. But bottom line is I wouldn't have been able to start training if it weren't for Frank. I was at a program here in town in Lexington, Kentucky, and Frank and Christian Counselor, who was running the program at the time, had kind of paired together and started seeing like, hey, can we implement recovery and equine therapy and make something out of it? And they were in kind of the early stages of that, the probing stages, I guess you'd say, of trying to figure out. And so Frank was, and he had a nephew, Josh Bryan, who actually passed away this year, was in the program with me, who was a very close friend, and just a terrible loss this year. But so Frank was coming around the house a bit. My very first job was prepping yearlings for TaylorMade when I was 15 years old. So I'd met Frank then, and I'd worked a couple sales for TaylorMade. But other than that, we really didn't have much of a relationship, for no other reason than our paths didn't cross that much. I was racetrack, he was sales. So we started to kind of develop a connection, and an idea hit me one day about they write these auction races in Kentucky and other places. I just thought about, I'd talked to a few people that had a bunch of horror stories with trying to pinhook yearlings to the 2-year-old sales. And I was thinking, well, what's the reason for that? And what I just came up with was that it was probably because when you pick a 2-year-old sale, the horse is now on your schedule as opposed to races when you're on their schedule. I said, well, what if you took them past the 2-year-old sales and you pinhooked them off these auction races? So I pitched the idea to Frank, and he loved it. And he put in a lot of his own money and then raised a lot of the rest and got us paid up, like with the purchase prices of these horses, 10 horses for $50,000 or less. And then all the bills that would incur for, I believe we had it billed up to about 16 months. We got the 10. We broke them at TaylorMade till the weather broke. A guy named Mike Lowry, he's a farm manager for TaylorMade, runs Diamond A division, and Tyler Maxwell that works and rides out at Windstar Farm. We were all graduated from this program in Kentucky. Not one of us had driver's licenses. I remember we had Mike's fiance get in my Explorer and drive us all the way down there, and then we put her on a plane and sent her back home. And we just started to break these horses. And Tyler had never ridden, Mike had never groomed, and I had never trained. But we made it through at Becky Thomas's beautiful facility down there in Ocala, Winding Oaks. And we came back to Keeneland and we had our first starter, which was named after co-founder of Stable Recovery, Christian Counselor. Horse was named Sergeant Counselor. He was a Bolt d'Oro. We paid $45,000 for. He ran third, and it wasn't, I don't know, 3 weeks later we got our first win with Dazzling Dominique at Churchill. But I say all that to say, without Frank, supporting the idea, because I'd burn every bridge in the industry that I had walked over. And rightly so. Like, nobody would give me an opportunity, and I couldn't blame them. But Frank was willing to see past all that and think about the bigger picture, and gave us an opportunity and to win to have our first grade one be by a stallion that he stands. And obviously, I don't think Not This Time needed Rhetorical to win to bump his stud fee or to stay in business, but
Doesn't hurt though.
it was certainly cool to experience that with Frank.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you felt like you've maybe burned every bridge along that path, but now that you're a couple years into training, you have the grade one win, you're getting set up to have your first Breeders' Cup starter here in a few weeks. Just how has that changed now as you've started to kind of get your training career put together?
Yeah, we don't forget where we came from, and that's a part of working a solid program in order to maintain sobriety. Is don't get too big for your own shoes, and stay right sized and stay in contact with that support group. And we do that. The barn has done really well, and I've got my assistants, Leslie Howes and Amy DeLossi, to thank for that. They do a fantastic job. They're the boots on the ground, along with some tremendous grooms, outstanding riders, and just great people that we have in the barn that make up this team that is dedicated to get these horses there on big days and small days. We run about as many on Monday as we do any other day. So I just want to, give the credit to them, because they deserve it. And they're the ones that are in the trenches every day, allowing us to pick spots for these horses where they can be successful in the afternoon. But no, the barn is done really well this year. And, we're just going to kind of hopefully continue to roll that momentum into next.
You have a maiden special starter coming up named Bonne Santé. And I don't know if Sean knows his French these days, but it means good health. And Will, I can't think of a better horse for you, buddy. So,
yeah.
What can you tell us about Bonne Santé? We're always looking for 2-year-olds and maidens this time of year for sure.
Yeah, no, she's talented. She kind of tipped her hand early at Keeneland. I think there's a 46 and change half mile in there somewhere. And she tipped herself as being pretty precocious. I thought she ran well. In her first start, I thought Tyler Gaffleone won the race out of the gate from the outside post. We broke out of I don't know if we were the one or just the first three post positions. We were drawn inside, and he broke a step faster than we did, and Louie was going for a spot, and Tyler had clearance and took the spot and took control of the race. Bonne Santé was a little bit keen and behind horses, and probably, I think, wasted a little bit of that late kick down the backside, just being green, like nothing malicious, just being a first-time starter. She's trained really well out of the race, and we're looking forward to getting her out there. She draws better, maintains Louie, and looking for her to step up tomorrow.
You mentioned earlier when you were a kid how you spent some time with Riley Mott and with Miguel Clement. Now seeing kind of all you guys coming up around the same time and having the success that you are, kind of the next generation of horsemen that we've already known over the years, what kind of pride do you guys take in that? Do you guys still keep in touch and kind of as you're all kind of working your way through this?
Yeah, I had a sleepover at Riley's house last week. Swear to God. We
believe you. Yeah. What's that group chat like? What's that like?
I'll only speak for me. I'm super proud of both of them. What both of them have gone through. Miguel this year and Riley last year. for them to hold their heads high and, you know, aside from training, just maintain this character and composure that they walk around with. They're both total class, and you know, I've learned a lot from them, and you know, just couldn't be more prouder of who they are as men and human beings. And then you add training. I mean, Riley's won 2 grade 1s this year. He's got a juvenile going to the Breeders' Cup and has just done a fantastic job spotting his horses, maintaining his stable, and just, you know, continually progressing. And Miguel, who was, you talk about being thrown into the fire, you know, getting handed a stable of the size that he got, heading into the one of the world's toughest meets, probably next to Royal Ascot, to win a race. And, you know, I mean, he killed it. Still is, and just so proud of him. You know, like I said, I can remember when me, Riley, Miguel, Ryan, and Kevin Bond, and my brother were all playing. There was an empty lot next to Vicky Oliver's barn at Payson, and we're playing tackle football out there at, you know, 8 in the morning. And just to see the way everybody's grown up and materialized, it's just been really cool to see and be a part of.
And you also mentioned that you were once roommates with the legendary Irma Scott. Did she try to give you as many carrots as she tries to give Sovereignty while you were there with her?
It's an important question. Answer
Not even close. So we had rooms next to each other, and we shared a bathroom, which is where the problem lied. And she had, the shower was, I'm 6'5", and the shower was about 7 feet in height. So like I couldn't dry off in there. Like I couldn't move. And it was like a broom closet. And then she had this tiny little bath mat outside that would look like it was like 1 foot by half a foot is what it felt like. So I inevitably would get water all over the bathroom floor, and I heard about it every single day. I mean, she read me the riot act every day because I just couldn't. She asked me if I just get out and shake and walk into my room. And but look, I needed that. I needed that.
You can't say anything. Yeah.
No, I needed that. What was I gonna say to her? I needed that, and you know, Irma just had a birthday 2 days ago, so I was able to call her this week and wish her happy birthday. And she's up there in Saratoga with the big horse, and but she'll be cheering on all of us come Breeders' Cup. You can believe that.
Well, Will, we'll get you out of here on this, and it is Breeders' Cup related. What do you think you'll be thinking about in the walkover with Rhetorical at the Breeders' Cup? What's going through your mind that day?
Save ground. It's
horse racing, right? You're on the track, right? Yeah.
I don't know. It's, you know, like I'd love to get sentimental and stuff about stuff, and it would probably add, I'm sure my family and the people around me at the time would love if I just relax a little bit. But when it's the walkover, I mean, it's game day, and I'll be locked in, hopefully, just like the horses. What I'll be thinking is, I hope this horse doesn't drag me around the paddock like he's done the last three starts, because I'll be on his head. So no, I mean, it'll be, you know, locked in and ready for game day. And look, I mean, I know it's going to be a tougher race. I know all the respect to the Europeans that are going to come over there and the U.S. horses that'll be in there. But at the same time, we're not trading spots with anybody. This horse has done nothing wrong and has continued to step up to the plate and done everything we've asked of him. And as long as he's willing, we'll continue to ask. You know, we'll let him, like I said earlier, we're going to let him dictate where he runs and when he's ready to go. And as long as he's given us the signs, you know, he's been pretty tough to stop.
He's grade 1 winner and trainer Will Walden joined us here on BloodHorse Monday. Will, thank you from me personally. Thank you for sharing your story and your journey. I appreciate it very much, and all the best. And hopefully we will run into you at Del Mar, my friend.
Thanks, Louie. I appreciate it. Sean, thank you.
Yep. Take care, Will.
Thank you, Will. joining us
You
here
bet.
on BloodHorse Monday, Sean. We'll continue on with the show after this.
Thanks to trainer Will Walden. Appreciate him. And I said at the end of the interview there, Sean, I do appreciate him sharing that, his personal story. He's been very open about it. To win on Stable Recovery Day at Keeneland is a remarkable thing, but sports seems to offer that to us so often. Horse racing no different that way. Rhetorical, what do you make of Rhetorical in the mile?
I mean, I think he's got as good a shot as anybody,
Especially
at least on
the American
side.
runners. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, he stepped up big time into the graded company, in a grade 1 company after running against New York breds, and he looked really good doing it. And he's one of those horses where Will took his time getting, like, he knew he had talent, but he didn't just throw him into the deep end. He worked his way up, getting to the point where he was ready for that competition, and he succeeded at it. So I see no reason why to think that he could not continue that success moving forward toward the Breeders' Cup.
Best chance I thought in a while on the American side, last 2 years, frankly, with runners, including Johannes last year, who almost won the thing last year. Rhetorical strikes me as that kind of horse. Yeah. I think he's at that level, and frankly, if he runs this race, he's got a real shot.
And he's peaking right now,
That's
too,
exactly
which is
right.
exactly what you want going into that race.
That's right. All right. Well, speaking of peaking at the right time, Jes Sikura with us from Hill and Dale Farms, of course, head of the sale there at Keeneland. Jes, welcome in. How are you?
Everything's good. Sorry, I was jumping in. I thought I should mute my mic and turn off the camera there, so I wasn't eavesdropping.
No, you're totally right. You eavesdrop all you want. Thanks for joining us here on BloodHorse Monday. Busy time of year for you all, huh?
Yeah, pretty busy time. Just after this, going to run back over to the October sale and getting ready for a big couple sales here in November that we're pretty excited about.
Yeah, well, the Keeneland November breeding stock sale is definitely a big one you guys have coming up here. How do you guys at Hill and Dale, how do you prepare for one of these big broodmare sales like this? How are you selecting which mares you think will be some of your best options to turn a profit?
You know what? I think we spend a lot of time every day looking at results throughout the year. I think we kind of try to compose a group that works for us and what horses we're excited and passionate about representing and are going to be attractive to the public, and a lot of items that we think if we are buyers would interest us, that would interest other people, and we give a great job. We do a great job at representing clients. So really, just day to day, following fillies and mares, and having an opinion on what would do well at the sale, and kind of attacking and going after them.
What is it about the Keeneland sale that makes it the best spot for you all to land?
The Keeneland sale for the group of mares we have is, I think, the best spot because they fit in really, really well. And I think us, along with Keeneland, have done a great job organizing which books we should put them in. I believe that our fillies, mares, and weanlings are all very well placed for this coming year. And every buyer in the world from small to large is there. So I think it's a great spot.
Well, let's get into some of these offerings that you guys have. We'll start with Richie, who you guys have part ownership in.
Yeah.
She's one of the more consistent runners in the distaff division out there in California this year. Just how excited are you guys to be offering her, and what do you think the market will be for her?
Yeah, we're really excited. I think the market will be vast for her. She's a grade 1 winner in Chile, champion, came up here, multiple graded stakes winner, grade 2 winner, came very close to winning a grade 1 there in California, but had to face arguably one of the best fillies in the entire division, Cavalieri, who just came up and got her. So I think she'll be looked at as a prime prospect in the sale, and we're excited to offer and really proud of the ride she took us on during her venture here in the U.S.
Yeah, daughter of Practical Joke there for sure. She'll be hip 185 in the sale there. A horse that Sean and I both got to win a grade 3 is Shatala. She'll be hip 199 here in the sale.
199.
I'll tell you what, if you want to make Grant Forster famous, you give him Shatalis in the Indiana Oaks. I'll tell you what. But what about her? Obviously, the 2-turn win in the Indiana Oaks, nothing to sneeze at for sure. But what about her?
So she was one I've had my eye on for a really long time, and figured a filly that could win one of the earliest maiden special weights in the country out there in Del Mar, and then go on and become a grade 2 winner at 2 for Gun Runner out of an Indian Charlie mare, that she's as commercial as it gets. And she turned around and off a 7th-month layoff, maybe more, came back and shipped across the country and won the Grade 3 Indiana Oaks. And then it looked like she was possibly coming to the end of her racing career, meaning that she probably still might have had a bit left in her. The great owners that we've had a lot of dialogue with, we talked them into maybe breeding her and selling her in full. And luckily we got into Mischief thanks to Spendthrift. They were great to deal with, put her in full. And we believe that a Grade 2 and Grade 3 at 2 different ages, winning daughter of Gunrunner in full to Into Mischief, that's really as commercial as it gets coming into a sale like that. So we're thrilled to get to represent her.
Yeah, that foal's gonna have one nice pedigree.
Yeah,
when
we're
it's
doing
Yeah.
okay here. That's right.
And she's big and she's beautiful
She's
as
big.
well. Yeah, really good looking. So an Into Mischief out of her could be anything if you're a seller or plan on racing.
How much more value does that add to a mare like her? The fact that anybody who's interested in buying her, not only do they get the mare, but they also have a foal, which they could choose whether or not they're going to race it, whether they're going to sell it in the future. Just how much more value does that add to a mare?
It adds a lot of value because, I mean, you think of it, if you buy her empty, you got to wait and take a risk. Does she get in full the next year? How tough is it going to be? Then if you do get her in full, then you got to wait another year for the full to come out. Then likely another year and a half to sell to see any return on your investment. Right away, buying her, she's in full. You're months away from getting that full, and you can really do whatever you want pretty quickly and see a return. So
Jes
I think it
Sikura-
adds tremendous value. No,
Sorry
go
about that,
ahead.
Jes Sikura with us from Hill and Dale, who'll be representing some mares at the Keeneland sale coming up here in November. A reminder that the Keeneland Championship sale is Wednesday, October 29th in the Mar Paddock, and the November breeding stock sale begins Tuesday, November 4th. You can learn more at Keeneland.com. Hit 95 is Hang the Moon, one of those horses as well that Sean and I have seen quite a bit in her runs as well. What about Hang the Moon do you like? This is one that we saw in the Rodeo Drive last out, but before that, of course, won the Rodeo Drive previously.
She's going to be one that everybody looks at. I think if you look at the most important broodmare sire, arguably over the last couple years, it could be Uncle Mo. With Nitrogen, Muth, Torpedo Anna, Journalism. There's a lot of really important mares by Uncle Mo, and they've really shown to be producers. And he has a lot of strong traits that carry on, as we've seen through Nyquist. So a graded stakes winning daughter of Uncle Mo could be a great producer. And once again, saw that as being very valuable and one that we're excited to get to represent.
Yeah, back-to-back Grade 2s last year.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Now, Uncle Mo, he passed away last year at the end of last year. So we're now at that point where it's a limited market. I hate to phrase it that way, but there's a limited market on how many of his daughters are left out there. Do you see that now that Uncle Mo is no longer with us, a mare like her could have potentially more interested buyers, just because as the years go forward, we're going to see less and less of these Uncle Mo broodmare prospects?
Yeah, I would expect there would be a premium on Uncle Mo's to begin with, much less a young graded stakes winning daughter of Uncle Mo going to the sale the first time this year. So yes, I do.
Yeah, Jes Sikura with us from Hill and Dale. Some others to talk about, including Lady Rattler will be HIP 862 here. And I wanted to ask you about her because, there's some South African breeding in here, but we see Kentharos on obviously on the sire line here, becoming a hot sire himself. Is that part of the motivation here?
Yeah, so she's definitely one wanted to talk about because only being a $37,000 yearling, she turned into a real runner, winning a graded stake at Churchill, winning another listed stake. Stakes placed several times, including at Keeneland. She's really pretty, was really fast, was a trier, made over 400,000. And she's in full to what we think is the most exciting freshman sire in the country, being Arabian Night. So we thought altogether she was a really good package to be able to offer. And George Mellon and Michael Campbell, the trainer, have been really easy and great to work with. So she's one that we had our eyes on, and luckily enough, we're going to be able to represent this year.
Yeah, she ruined my ticket at Churchill that day.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
So we know Louie will not be.
No, I'm not buying that one. No way. No.
Yeah.
But I know she could run. How about that? Yeah.
Well, another one that you guys have here is hip number 73 in Everland. This is one that I have always enjoyed watching at Churchill and around Kentucky over the last couple of years. She's a big striking gray, and so she always catches my attention every time that I see her. What are your thoughts on her going into this sale? She's a daughter of Arrogate. That's another one like Uncle Mo, who Arrogate passed away a few years ago, so potentially some of that same kind of increased market for his mares here. Just what are your expectations for her?
We're absolutely thrilled for her. I think she looks great on paper. Eric Foster and his partners, including Jeff Ackrich, have been so easy and great to work with. She's one that I was there the day she won her qualifying race at Turfway to get into the Oaks, in which she ran fifth in the Kentucky Oaks behind Just FYI and Torpedo Anna, beating Jin Jin, is now a Grade 1 winner. Leslie's Rose, Grade 1 winner. Power Squeeze, Grade 1 winner. She's by Arrogate, won at 2, won another stake at 3, and then another stake at 4, and just right outside of Greatest Stakes placing a couple times. So I think she's really talented. She's got a lot of things that work for her. And like you said, being a limited edition Arrogate, especially out of a nice, a well-bred Tappet mare, I think it makes her a pretty rare commodity and one that I expect to do well.
With her, she had some success at Turfway Park, and with increased Tapeta racing around the country, certainly here in Kentucky in the winter, but also at the New Belmont Park, certainly at Gulfstream Park, up at Woodbine if you want. Are you having those conversations with potential buyers about, hey, she's also good on the synthetic? Those kinds of conversations.
I think that any surface you put her on, she had shown promise in several times. So I think that is absolutely a conversation with buyers. So she should bring some international intrigue. Right. And within and domestic, because like I said, all three she showed that she could run on. So that I think that is an important factor.
And one that you guys just supplemented into the sale here is Into Champagne, a daughter of Into Mischief. She was also in that Kentucky Oaks against Torpedo Anna, just FYI, Everland and all them. So you just added into the sale here. What are your guys' expectations for her?
I think expectations would. I always try to keep them modest, but are high again that she's going to be very valuable, and anybody who's looking for a nice broodmare would consider her. Being a stakes winner and Greatest Stakes placed by Into Mischief out of Spitestown mare, she's kind of one of those that would appeal to all buyers and could suit a lot of stallions here in Kentucky and produce a beautiful foal. And she showed a lot on the racetrack and is a striking individual herself.
And she'll be in there as hip 215, I believe, here in the Keeneland sale. We also wanted to ask you about Torpedo Anna coming out of the Spinster Stakes. It was just announced last week that she was retired from racing. She'll be taking up her broodmare duties at Hillendale Farm. You guys are not consigning her in the Keeneland Championship sale, but I know Kenny's consigning a 20% interest. So if anybody is interested in getting involved with you guys on her in the Keeneland Championship sale, they definitely can. But just how excited are you guys to add her to the broodmare band? What kind of value does a race mare with her kind of record have as you look forward?
I think it's huge for Hillendale. It's one that obviously getting involved, we had this in mind. Anytime we get to have a horse of the year, Grade 1 winner, one of the best race horses that I've seen in my lifetime, get to come to Hillendale and be bred to some of the best sires, that we have a lot of optimism for her being a long-term investment and significant asset to Hillendale.
Yeah, that's one of those. No, I got to say this. It's one of those that even if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, she's not it's a great idea. Like, of course you want her on your property.
Yeah.
Of course, right? Now, I think it's going to work. I've seen way too much of her, and I'm sure Hillendale will make all of the correct decisions about, breeding and those sorts of things. So no, Jes, I'm very confident that you'll get it done. But man, just such a no-brainer to have her as part of your roster. No,
I would have to, and it's tough sometimes. You got to sell, but having the opportunity to retain something like her is very, very rare and something we don't really see a lot nowadays. So getting to keep her in the United States is going to be something that we're really excited and proud to be able to do.
And when you look forward, I know it's several years away, but when you look forward to, I imagine her children will be part of the Hillendale consignments at some of these yearling sales. Just obviously that's got to give you guys a lot of hope for these next upcoming sales a few years from now.
Yeah, obviously try to not count the chickens before they hatch, but that of course is a prospect that we've had in mind. And yeah, I said don't want to say too much. Just hope that it goes well.
We won't jinx anything here. We won't make you say anything that people can pull up in 10 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I could get made fun of on Twitter pretty good.
Not Twitter. Oh, man.
Yeah,
Well,
everywhere.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's Jes Sikura, joined us from Hill and Dale Farm. Of course, they'll be part of the Keeneland sale there just after Breeders' Cup coming up in the first week there in November. Jes, thanks so much for jumping on with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. Have a good one.
No problem. There you go. Thanks, Jes. Jes Sikura from Hill and Dale Farm. Just like, hey, by the way, Torpedo Anna can be in your broodmare bed. Yeah, we're doing that. Yes.
You have to walk outside the back door and see her out there in the field.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no big deal. It's like hiring the best coach for your football team, and you're like, I have no idea if they'll fit in with the culture here, but it's going to work. Like, we're just going to do it. It's all she'll be great there in Illinois. Absolutely. Look forward to the sale too, man. We'll have to get down there and
definitely. We're going to go see how these horses sell. I'm excited after these last couple of weeks here.
Do you have a sense? We should play a game once in a while. We get to talk to all these. We talk reps and consigners, different people. We never do like who's going to be the top seller out of this group. Like that would be fun.
I'm not good enough at the sales.
We would be terrible at it. That's why it would be funny. Yeah, I'm like Shitalis, you're like Everland, and I'm gonna bang the moon comes up by like 3 million.
I'll pick whoever sells for like 3,000, and then the one I say won't sell well will sell for.
All of our picks RNA, right?
Yes.
Oh, that'd be great. But we are coming up on the Street Sense. We're coming up on those kinds of races right before the Breeders' Cup, Sean. As we look forward in the racing here, where do you think you're more likely to see, let's say, 3 Derby starters, the Street Sense or the Breeders' Cup Juvenile?
Ooh.
Because that's a legitimate question.
And last year, you would have won on the Street Sense.
Boom. And was it 3 years ago? Was White Barrio? Oh, was in that race?
No, he was in the jockey.
The Jockey Club. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yep. Now the Jockey Club for years, 2 years in a row, was the predictor race.
Yes, the Kentucky Jockey Club's been a very good race. And I think the Street Sense it was just a couple of years ago where it got upgraded to Grade 3, I believe, and got added on to the Derby Trail. I think was 2 Phils winning it the first year it was officially on the Derby Trail, but it got added semi-recently, and really since it's been added, it's been really producing. And you saw it with Sovereignty last year. There's if you have one of those really good 2-year-olds in Kentucky right now, whether they've already entered Stakes Company or they just impressively won their maiden at Churchill's September meet, or maybe the opening weekend at Keeneland. I feel like there used to be maybe some pull to take that horse out to the Breeders' Cup and run them there. But now you can stay home and you have such a great prep race in the Street Sense to then set you up. You could do what Sovereignty did last year, where that gets you into the fall. You take your winter break and then you come back in February. Or if you want to go forward into the Kentucky Jockey Club, or maybe you sit that one out, but you go forward to the races at like
Cigar Mile Day. I'm trying to remember what the 3-year-old or the 2-year-old races.
The Remsen.
Yeah. The Remsen's that day. That's right. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
So
I had the 1-turn mile in my head. That's a 1 1/8. So that's why I was screwed up.
Yeah.
But and that's been a great predictor race too. The last 2 years.
Yeah, it has been
spectacular.
Definitely. Yeah. So it's going to be an exciting race. That's the reason why I'm still here in Kentucky on Sunday instead of out in California already, is for that race. So
it makes sense, frankly.
So it's going to be an exciting race coming up here. I love my Derby talk, so I'm excited.
A week from tomorrow. So if you're catching this on Tuesday of this week, but on the 28th of October, we'll be doing a seminar at 7 p.m. Eastern here in Louisville. It will stream on all of BloodHorse's social media platforms. So if you are interested in hanging out with me, my friend Barry Spears, who I do other shows with, on a handicapping part of the show, you're certainly welcome to do that. Sean and I will be out at Del Mar Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll have shows for you. We'll put them all in the normal spots where you find this program to make sure that you can follow along with us.
And I also want to make sure we mention, if you want to follow along with everything for the Breeders' Cup coming up here, make sure you're checking out bloodhorse.com. We're going to be having all sorts of stories coming up. Make sure you subscribe to the daily so you can see those coming in every day. All sorts of stories revolving around the horses and the connections of the Breeders' Cup. We're also going to have quite a few videos coming out as well on our YouTube channel on bloodhorse.com. So make sure you check for those. I know our good friend Anna Curlin, our video editor here at BloodHorse, she just posted the first of our 3 Things series with praying and Robert Medina.
You know, I just did a bad thing for her. This is an audio and video medium, right? It's so like people can see us for sure. If you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, we appreciate you. But someone's listening right now on Apple Pods.
Yes.
And I smiled when you said Anna's name instead of saying, yeah, she's great. And I should have said, yeah, she's great. You should have. No, it's a bad job of me.
But make sure you check out on either bloodhorse.com or on our YouTube channel the 3 Things video series. Get to know a little bit more about the horses that are running in the Breeders' Cup. So get to learn a little bit more about praying. I got to sit in and help her record the one with Rhetorical that we did last week. That'll be coming out in a couple of days. So you heard Will talk about his journey, learn a little bit more about Rhetorical himself and what he enjoys watching. I'll leave you in suspense there. You'd be surprised, one of the fun things about him. But check that out as we get closer to the Breeders' Cup. I was out at Churchill Downs this morning. I spent the morning with Dale Romans as Bobrovsky's preparing for the Juvenile Turf Sprint. He talked with me on video, and you can see video of the horse training this morning as well, about how they're not going to breeze at all going into the Breeders' Cup. He's going to go just completely galloping every day leading into the race. They're not going to do any breezes between when he ran in the Indian Summer. If you want to hear his reason,
I am looking forward to watching that
check
myself.
that out on
that?
bloodhorse.com. So we got lots of cool information like that. Make sure you check that out. Make sure, of course, you check out the magazine. I think somebody that we just
Why do we need to do that, Sean? By the way, if you happen to be watching, you can check out the QR code at the bottom of the screen. Subscribe to BloodHorse Magazine. You can always just go to bloodhorse.com and click on the magazine at the top of the homepage. You can also get the Stallion Registry. It's pretty awesome. Who's in it, Sean?
Well, you just happen to have a feature on Kate Hunter.
Madam Plushie yourself. How about that?
Yes. So if you enjoyed Kate Hunter's interview there, if you enjoyed talking about plushies, if you want to learn more about what her job is on a daily basis, about how she gets these horses for the Derby, for the Breeders' Cup, and gets these Japanese horses over here, make sure that you check out the Blood Horse magazine. That'll be in our upcoming issue here in November. The story written by Alicia Hughes, and so make sure you check that out.
Who's the photo by?
Anne Eberhardt, who we have nominated for her own
Plushie Worthy Anne. This is an important debate. Is this it'll come up next week, right?
The plushie talk?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Okay, good. Right.
What do you think the odds are she brings us a plushie from Japan?
Listen,
we forgot to ask for that.
It's a bad job by us. She's got to be stateside already, right?
Probably getting close.
Yeah, right. For this week, right?
I think she said the horses arrive there tomorrow.
Right.
As of 1 week.
I was gonna say, she's got to get over here.
She
Yeah,
should be.
busy. There you go.
So it's too late to ask.
Well,
All
thank you to
We'll
Kate.
get 'em for
Thank
Derby.
you to Will. Thank you to Jes for joining us today on Blood Horse Monday. His name is Sean Collins. I'm Louie Rabaut. If you have made it this far, please subscribe, please like, please give us a 5-star review on wherever you're watching. We would really appreciate it. That's frankly how the algorithm works and how traffic is driven, and we would appreciate you being part of the reason that we have even more traffic on this show. Again, for Sean, I'm Louie. We'll talk about the future stars on Monday. We'll do that. You know, I always take my kids that day and I post a picture online that says, "Look at my future stars at the Future Star Sunday." There you go.
Go like that tweet.
It's a cheesy dad thing.
At Radio Louie. Go like that tweet.
More cheesy talk next week.
The Blood Horse is dedicated to the improvement of thoroughbred breeding and racing for over 100 years. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and save Blood Horse Monday on all your platforms. For the latest news, analysis, and insights, visit us at bloodhorse.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.